our RSVPs for this event at the library. We went into overload scramble, and Reagan is the magical human that helped make this happen for us today.
Hello. My name is Reagan Buett, and I'm currently the president of the Board of Trustees here at All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. We are happy to welcome you here. And, All Souls has been affiliated with the Gun Sense movement for a number of years, and the Unitarian Universalist Association is a leader among the Faiths United Against Gun Violence Coalition. We are with you. That said, I have to do my job, so if you'd like to explore what All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church is like, I invite you to join us on a Sunday. For the next 2 weeks, our services will be at 10:30 a.m. and after Labor Day on September 8th. They resume their normal schedule with a community forum at 10 a.m. and our Sunday service at 11:15. Again, you all are very welcome to join, and we are happy to be your host today.
I also, before we get started, we will be talking about some things today that are very hard and difficult. And if anyone at any point in time needs to go out in the hall and take a break, please don't hesitate to do that. A lot of the work that we do around gun violence prevention is obviously very heavy. So please feel free, if you need to take a minute, do that. I'm Kara Warner. I am the local group lead here in Kansas City. I'm a volunteer, and I am so, so proud of this role. When I think about gun violence has had an impact on my life. I'm 45 years old. For more years than I've been alive, that it hasn't. When I was a teenager, my cousin that was older than me and his best friend took my uncle's service revolver out of his desk drawer. My cousin was raised around guns. He knew how to handle them. He knew gun safety, but it didn't matter to the chair that he was sitting in that day, and the leg malfunctioned and the gun discharged, and he was killed instantly while his best friend watched. High school, I had a friend that had completed suicide by gun. And around the same time, I was super fancy and did a half day of high school classes, half day of college courses, and was doing an internship at the local police department in rural Missouri, in Sedalia, Missouri. One of my tasks was to file photographs that would come through the police department, and one day some photographs ended up in my stack that should not have been there. They weren't property crime. I later found out that a teenager went upstairs to his bedroom on Thanksgiving Day while his family was gathered downstairs celebrating. He had taken a rifle with him. He had put the barrel in his mouth. And it's been over 20 years, but those images, they still haunt me. Some things just don't ever leave you. And that's it about gun violence, though, right? The ripple effects and how it impacts all of us in our communities and our lives, even if we aren't directly related. I was in college when Columbine happened, and I never in a million years would have dreamed something like that would have happened in my high school. And I thought, someone's going to do something about this. Someone has to do something about this. This is going to change. And here we are in Parkland. Also in college, another friend completed suicide by gun. Sandy Hook. My son was the same age as the babies that were slaughtered there that day in their safe space. I sat in the parking lot waiting to pick him up from school when I turned on NPR to hear the news, and I could not stop crying or shaking and walked through those halls imagining and thinking, I get to pick my baby up today, and so many of these other parents just don't. When Moms Demand Action formed shortly after Sandy Hook, I became involved, kind of sideliney. I donated money when I could. I answered the calls to action. And then on October 25th, 2017, one of my best friend's husband was gunned down in their front yard after walking their 2 young boys to school. I promised her that day that I would do everything in my power to help end preventable gun violence, and I intend on keeping that promise. I am so sad, and I am so angry. I imagine that many of you are here today for that very reason of existing in that place and feeling hopeless. I was at our yearly training convention for Moms Demand Action leaders when I woke up to see the news about Aaron Langifer here in Kansas City, who was shot and killed by a stray bullet while standing at a food truck at First Friday. To any friends and family that may be here today of Aaron's, I am so, so sorry. A few hours later, in a room with 2,000 other leaders from all across the country, including 700 survivors of gun violence, we learned about the massacre in El Paso. Time stopped. That typically would be an evening where we would be handing out awards and celebrating our victories. The other days are trainings around our roles to help us be better leaders. And they obviously canceled that celebration. Nobody was feeling celebratory, and several hundred of us went to the White House and we went to the Capitol, part vigil, part protest. And we are here today to honor the victims and survivors in El Paso, Dayton, Gilroy, Baltimore, Chicago, Philadelphia, and the 130 homicides here this year in the Kansas City metro area. Friends, there are over 100 gun deaths in America a day. That's not even counting mass shootings. I'd like for us to take a moment of silence now, please. Thank you. But what we do at Moms Demand Action, we honor those taken by gun violence with action. And we are here because gun violence doesn't conveniently take a recess like Congress does. They work for us. I know a lot of you are here for the first time today, so I just kind of briefly want to go through what it is that we do, who we are, how we formed, to give you a better idea. And then we have two incredible speakers here with us today that I'm so honored could join us. And then we're going to take action. Shannon Watts said the gun lobby wants you to be hopeless. They want you to give up. And I want you to understand that giving up is not an option. Shannon is the founder of Moms Demand Action. It was founded shortly after Sandy Hook by Shannon Watts, and she was literally sitting at her kitchen table and searching out any internet groups that might be working around gun violence and found nothing, so she started it. We now have more than 6 million supporters in just those short years. We are the first grassroots movement working in direct opposition to the gun lobby, and we outnumber their members. Everything that we do has a purpose, we are strategic, and everything is data-driven. And we have had victories all across the country in getting good gun legislation passed and blocking bad gun bills and electing common sense candidates. So we were basically kind of modeled around Mothers Against Drunk Driving, with the idea that we are demanding action from our legislators, state and federal, from companies, from corporations, educational institutions, to establish common sense gun reform. We are nonpartisan, and everything we do, contrary to popular belief, is within the Second Amendment. We are not trying to take anyone's guns away. There are plenty of common sense gun laws that we can pass without doing that, and 3 of our local leads here in Kansas City are actually gun owners. We have 17 local groups in the state, and we coordinate on statewide issues, and we have local events in every city, and every single one of us in this movement are volunteers. So in 2006, I believe, Mayor Bloomberg founded Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and then Shannon in 2012 founded Moms Demand Action, and then they combined forces. So you will often see Everytown mentioned in conjunction with Moms Demand Action. And Everytown is kind of our money bags to help us do what we need to do, and we are the grassroots contingency, boots on the ground, moms, mothers, and others that do the day-to-day work. We have an incredible program called Be Smart that's aimed at keeping kids safe from firearms, if you have firearms in the home. We have 2 presenters in our local group. If anyone in here, you have a note card that you got with your postcard. If you are interested or know of anyone that might want to have a Be Smart presentation at a community gathering, a school event, a PTA meeting, anywhere that people are concerned about children and gun safety. Andy, Kathy, would you stand up and so that people can see you? Kathy's there in the back, and then Andy's right here in the front. And we'd be able and happy to come do the presentation. Mayors Against Illegal Guns. That says Kansas City, but we're not sure yet. As you know, Mayor Lucas just took office, and our legislative team has been in contact to hopefully have him sign on to the Mayors Against Illegal Guns proclamation. Mayor James had signed on to it always. A couple of groups that you definitely want to get involved in. Moms Demand Action Mo on Facebook is a great one that's kind of centered to what's going on in our state specifically. And then if you search KC-Mo Lee Summit in Northland, that's going to be more specific to our area, where there will be lots of information about how you can help, tabling events, calls to action. Both these groups are fantastic to be in, and you should be able to find them pretty easily. I know that our events lead just put up we're doing an event at Harvesters next Thursday, so things like that will be listed there. You can go in and sign up for that, and you don't have to be a member to come join us at Harvesters. We have many community partnerships that are continuing to grow. Grandparents Against Gun Violence, KC Mothers in Charge, Healing Pathway, Victim Service Agency, Students Demand Action, March for Our Lives. Rachel, stand up. So the people, just stand up. You don't have to say anything. And March for Our Lives. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I want to talk about our victories in Missouri. I've had several people contacting me since El Paso, wanting to get involved and being very concerned that we just sit around and complain like lots of organizations do and we don't do anything. Well, that's incorrect. Last session in Missouri, we blocked 2 horrific gun bills. One would have forced private universities to allow guns on campus, which is the worst possible idea in the world. And then the other was guns everywhere. Amusement parks, places of worship, daycares, you name it. And these are obviously things that cannot happen, and we were able to rally and get those bills pushed back. But the most incredible thing that I think we did last election cycle was we flipped the House of Representatives in the United States to a completely gun sense majority for the first time in decades. Moms Demand Action volunteers from across the country mobilized to canvass, to knock doors, to make phone calls. One of our own, Lucy McBath, is now a representative in Georgia. Like, this is what our power is. This is what we can do. And also, I just need to mention that the NRA is imploding. Their main communication lifeline with their NRA TV is no longer in existence. I wanted to take a second to recognize the incredible people that I get to work with in this fight. I guess I'm just going to cry all day. I will tell you, when you join this group, you will be working with some of the most inspirational, passionate, beautiful humans that you will ever meet in your life. Pictured up here are our leaders that couldn't be here today. Tisha and Trina are our city gun violence leads. Sonia is our Wear Orange coordinator. Sarah is our social media person. And then Hillary is going to take over the volunteer coordination trainings. And I'm going to have the rest of our leads stand up for just a second. Zach and Natasha, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Wave. Julie, survivors lead. And if there are any survivors of gun violence here in the room, Julie would be happy to talk to you. There are a lot of resources that we can offer folks through the Survivors Fellowship. Terry, membership. Here you are. Amy and Peggy do events. Are men enough to be a mom? Jerry and Brian are our legislative leads. Carmelo and Amy, community outreach. Andy and Kathy, I'm going to be smart you again. I'm making you stand up again. To be able to stand with and work with such incredible humans is like, it's everything to me, and I thank you all for everything that you do every day. That said, you also have a note card. We are still looking to fill a couple of leads roles, one fundraising and then one faith outreach. We'd really like to coordinate everyone in the faith community here and figure out how we as moms can help amplify and support the work that they're doing to also end gun violence. There are multiple opportunities to table at events, to phone bank, to volunteer. If you're interested in tabling, you can write that down on your note card. We'll be collecting those on the door at the way out. If there's anything that you can think of or you have any thoughts, please feel free to share those with us as well. And that's my email address, in case anyone would like to contact me privately. I wanted to talk about GSU for just a minute. I told you about our yearly convention and training. This was GSU in 2014. This was GSU this year. To sweeten the deal, if you take a leads role, you will be able to attend GSU, and there are even scholarships available, which is something that I've been very grateful for, to have this opportunity. It's a life-changing, transformative experience, and you will learn so much. Last Saturday, we got on a bus to go to Iowa for the very first ever Gun Sense Forum with presidential candidates. And I'm bringing this up to tell you the thing that the takeaway for me. Every candidate came out individually and was asked a series of questions, and then a survivor asked a question about what their stance on gun violence would be. And then in the end, the candidate was asked, what do you want us to do as moms to be in action? 100% of the candidates said, you all are the reason that gun violence is not a third-rail issue in this country anymore, and just keep doing what you're doing because it's working. they were also using our language. They weren't saying gun control anymore, because that's not what it is, right? It's common sense gun laws. It was really powerful and incredible to see that every single candidate was on our side, and that there was even a forum like this to begin with. This would not have happened even 3 years ago. And now I'm going to quit talking, because I'm sure you guys are probably tired of listening to me. It is my great honor to introduce this incredible, fierce, compassionate powerhouse and friend in our community that does such important work. And this work shouldn't have to be done. Monica Roberts, Healing Pathway Victim Service Agency.
Thank you. Thank you to Moms Demand Action. I always tell everybody, when you see the red and white shirts, you know that they mean business. These ladies are powerful, these men are powerful, and you guys truly live, you exude what it means to be an advocate. And Kara, you know there are many nights that you and I message each other, and even for the most seasoned advocate, it can become emotionally taxing and very draining. Just a week ago, not even a full week ago, I stood outside of a home of an 8-year-old child who was murdered in our city. I posted pictures on Facebook because I've been in contact with this family, and I want people to understand that there is more than just a number. It's more than just a news story. To stand outside of the bedroom of this victim, to see over 36 holes in this home, and knowing on the other side of that wall there was an 8-year-old little boy that was preparing to buy a backpack the next day. He didn't make it to purchase a backpack. And that child is now being prepared to be laid to rest. That's his mom's only child. Doesn't matter if you have 30 kids, but to lose your one and only child, that's life was just starting. And I thought it was so ironic as I stood out there with Mr. Pat Clark, who's another community activist. In the window, there was an angel that stayed in that child's bedroom window. And I just thought, wow, this is something. There is no way that we should send our kids to the cemetery. They should be going to their first day of school. Healing Pathway Victim Service Agency was an idea that I created in 2011. In 2012, we became a 501c3 organization. Our goal was to serve the smallest co-victims of homicide, meaning the surviving children. We initially started with the idea of serving children that had lost a parent or caretaker to violence. We now have had to extend our services, expand them to serving children that have lost siblings. This year alone, we have lost 3-year-olds, we've lost 14-year-old children. It could have been as simple as someone gaining access to a weapon in the home. We had a child in the Northland who accidentally killed his brother. That child is one of our participants. We have so many stories, and as Kara invited me here today, I said, I can stand here and talk to you as a social worker about secondary trauma, vicarious trauma. I can talk to you about the neural impact that trauma has on us. But I think we become immune as a society. We hear those words, trauma, vicarious trauma, secondary trauma, gun violence, gun control, and it just becomes a blur. We forget the people that are attached to those numbers that we're seeing. And so today I wanted to share something with you, but I need your participation. I need you all to close your eyes right now. What I'm about to tell you is Jaron and Corey's story. I want to take you back to October the 8th of 2018. Kansas City, rainy day, morning time. The Chiefs game is about to start. You've got a mom, a dad, 2 little girls. Mom's folding laundry on the couch. And then all of a sudden, mom feels a burning sensation in her leg and realizes that a bullet has come through the window. She frantically gets up to grab her then 4-year-old daughter, and they try to run for the nearest closet to save themselves from this now barrage of bullets that are coming through the home. Mom then realizes, I don't have my 1-year-old daughter in this closet with me. By this time, Mom realizes also, I've been shot, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 7 times. And she's bleeding, and she's sliding across the hallway to get her 1-year-old daughter who's in the playroom. She gets her, she runs back to the closet with a 4-year-old, then to realize my 4-year-old daughter has been shot. She looks through the cracks of the closet while the perpetrator has now gained entry into the home, and he chases her significant other. By this time, she's trying to silence the cries of her 2 babies. The only thing in that closet was baby wipes. She tries to put pressure on wounds, tries to put her hands to muffle the cries of her 2 babies in that closet, and she tries to call 911. Her fingers are slipping because of the blood. She thinks she will die in this closet. She's now watching the love of her life, the father of her children, be executed through the crack of the closet. And then there's silence. All of this took place in 5 minutes, but it was 5 minutes of terror. You hear a 4-year-old little girl say, Mommy, is that the bad guy that's on the floor, not realizing that's Daddy? Corey survived. Jaron did not. In fact, Jaron's injuries were so horrific that the family could not have an open casket. They also realized that this guy had killed 2 other people in Kansas City that morning. It wasn't gang related, it wasn't drug related, it wasn't over a feud. This person just snapped and decided to take 3 lives that morning. Open your eyes. Many of you are probably wondering, who are the people that stand behind me on this stage? The little girls that are being little girls and sliding around on the floor. These are the 2 little girls that survived in that closet. Callie is, I call her my superwoman. She is my youngest gunshot victim. And this is Callie that's in her Uncle Lonnie's arms right now. I remember meeting her and she says, I have an owie in my foot. That is the reality of gun violence. These kids are forever impacted. These families are forever impacted. You look statistically, we know that people that have experienced some type of gun trauma, they usually can become victims again later on, or they can become perpetrators. Our goal as Healing Pathway members, and I've seen several of our board members in the room today, we don't get paid for what we do. We believe in the mission. We know that we have to reach these kids at this age if we are going to impact future homicide rates. Callie and Jaron and Corey and their loved ones, that's one story of thousands that we have served since 2012. When I tell you that it is emotionally draining to go to the funeral homes and see children, because that's what we do, we prepare them for what they are about to see, to put their mother or their father or their sibling who's 8 years old to rest. We prepare them, explain to them that that person doesn't breathe in and out, they cannot respond to you. Those are the things, that's the reality. Most recently, I thought it was interesting. I'm very vocal, and so a lot of people follow me on my Facebook, and I post a lot of our stories with the permission of the families, because I think it's important that we not become desensitized to the impact of crime. And I had one community say, we don't want that posted on our page because it's not specific to our community. Well, I will tell you, it does not discriminate. If you look at the makeup of Healing Pathway, you will see all ethnicities represented, all educational levels, all socioeconomic statuses represented in our organization. It is not a gang thing. It is not a black and white thing. It is not a prospect or a truce or urban versus suburban. It is a people thing. It is an emergency. And so when we have children that are now learning first aid on how to deal with a gunshot, when they are training like soldiers, that is awful. We have kids that are knowing how many seconds it takes to bleed out. How do you put pressure on a gunshot wound? When we have pediatricians talking more about gun violence than they are vaccinations, that is a problem. So that is the reality. So I implore you guys today to just not make it, this is not just the informational. We need you to take action. I need you to align yourself with people like Moms Demand Action that are out there on the ground, and they are working hard. They put their hearts and their souls, and I know that because I see them online. I see what they're doing in the community. Together we can make a difference, but I want you today to, when you leave here, you think about these victims. Don't become so immune to the numbers, and just know that these children are trying to move forward with their lives, and we are trying to repair them so we are not having an excess of 150 homicides in another 5 years. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to my members of Healing Pathway that are here today. Thank you. And I see Helen Hurley. I believe Virginia is somewhere here hiding from me. But, you know, it takes a team. You hear the term, it takes a village. It truly does. Thank you again for this opportunity.
We are all connected, and what happens to one of us happens to all of us. It is also my honor to introduce one of my sheroes. After Parkland, Caroline sprang into action. I just want to say that students should not be having to fight this fight. And for too long, us grown-ups, we weren't there. But Caroline, we're here now, and we stand beside you. We've got your back, and I am so grateful for your passion and your commitment. Caroline Bennett, Students Demand Action.
Hello. I'm Caroline Bennett. I am the leader of Students Demand Action Kansas City and also the founder. I don't have a real child. I am not a mother, but in some sense of the way, Kansas City Students Demand Action is like my baby. And you know, mothers like to brag about their babies, so I'm gonna brag a little bit. Students Demand Action Kansas City meets once a month, usually at the Plaza Library. We canvass, we hold voter registration tables, we write letters to senators, we do all of the things that Moms Demand Action does, except for we are students. A lot of times it takes people to be personally involved in some sort of gun violence for them to get involved in the gun sense movement, but for me it was kind of the idea of anybody that I like maybe getting hurt that got me in the first place. A lot of people like to call my generation the mass shooting generation, and although mass shootings are not the only way that people die because there is daily gun violence, it is definitely a big part of it. Columbine happened about 1.5 years before I was even born, so it's been going on for over the time that I've been alive. Sandy Hook happened when I was in 5th grade, and today, as my mom and I were driving to this meeting, we were talking about that. We lived in Italy at the time. I'm a military brat, and so we had the awesome opportunity to live in both Hawaii and in Italy. And gun violence doesn't really happen anywhere else. I don't know if you guys knew that, but like in Hawaii, everybody has the aloha spirit and it's fine. And in Europe, they have gun sense laws, so it doesn't really happen, you know? And we heard about Sandy Hook and the Aurora movie theater shooting on the Italian news and on the American News Network. And all of a sudden, it was time for the Army to move us to a new location. And we were going to Kansas City, Missouri. And my twin brother and I were terrified because we lived in Italy. And in Italy, mass shootings didn't happen, and people didn't die all the time, and it was fine, but we're not gonna live in Italy anymore. We're gonna live somewhere else where mass shootings do happen. And my granddaddy, he said, "Oh, it's okay, that doesn't happen in Kansas City." And within 2 months of us moving here, the Jewish community theater shooting happened. So actually, it does happen here. Kansas City is the 9th most violent city in America, AKA 9th most violent city gun-wise in the world, which is not okay at all. We're better than this, you know? And my generation is so affected by this more than any other generation. And I would like to read a list to you of kids that have died in Kansas City in 2019. Now, keep in mind that this list was sent to me a week ago, and I'm not sure how many people have died since then. So after I read this, I would like to have just a little second of silence, and keep in mind that all of these kids are younger than I am. Arquez Grant, Fernando Perez, Anjakin Wright, Clinton Holman Jr., Deontay Campbell, Justin Andreas, Jairus Wilson, Damian Norfleet, Rayana Hill, Dovin Sherman, Brian Bartlett. Whether this meeting today is your first meeting or you have been involved in this gun sense movement for years, it is amazing that you guys are all here. This turnout is super incredible, but we have to keep fighting. This can't continue to happen, can't continue to be an issue anymore. We've been fighting for this since before I was born, and it has to end before I die. So thank you so much for all being here, and if you're a student, please come talk to me afterwards. Thank you.
Today, part of what we're doing is gathering to take action on 2 life-saving measures. Universal background checks, which has already been passed through the House and is conveniently sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, and for some reason he's not calling a recess to push this through. We are going to encourage him to do that today. We know that 93% of Americans, based on our Everytown data, are in favor of stronger background checks. These numbers came from Fox News 2 days ago. 93% of gun owners, 89% of Republicans, 92% of Democrats. For the red flag laws, 77% of gun owners, 75% of Republicans, and 88% of Democrats. That is an overwhelming majority of what the people of this country want. And Mitch McConnell needs to get off his ass. And we need common sense gun legislation passed that will save lives. We know not one law is going to change everything. We understand that. But every single one of these measures will save lives and keep our community safer. I wanted to share this video with you. This was one of the most powerful moments at GSU this year. This is Brenda Moss. She's a survivor. She lost her son, Sean, to gun violence. I'm going to let her speak for herself. Sam Drew, you're on. Hold on, you guys. You want to go ahead and try and play it again, Sam? Thank you. Quiet, very quiet. So I think this would be a good time. We're going to take our action. We're going to write postcards to McConnell, Blunt, and Hawley. I think it's going to be easiest to probably just divide y'all by sections. So I think maybe there's 12 rows. If the first 4 rows want to write to Mitch McConnell, the next 4 rows want to write to Roy Blunt, and the next 4 rows want to write to Josh Hawley on those postcards you got. If you guys need a pen, raise your hand and we'll bring you around a pen. And what we're looking to do here today is to ask them to pass universal background checks and pass stronger red flag laws. If you want to share a little bit of your own, personal commentary, please do that. And then we'll make sure that they're all stamped and we'll be able to get those in the mail for you guys. Coming up with them, but
Oh, no, hopefully you're doing awesome. That's where it starts.
I did it for myself.
Okay, keep your hand up if you need a pen. There's some coming down the aisles as we speak. If you need postcards, raise your hand. First 4 rows. Okay, so the first 4 rows, if I'm counting back for me, you got Mitch McConnell. And then the next 4 rows, Blunt, if you can, and then the last 4 rows, Holly. We got it covered. Oh, we can put regular stamps on it. So I know that we've run out of postcards. Something else that you guys can do if you can't have a postcard is to get your phone out and text the word checks to 64433. You might not want to do that right now because it's going to patch you in immediately to one of these 3 gentlemen, but that's something that we can all be doing every single day to keep the pressure on. They do pay attention to those phone calls. They do pay attention to these postcards. So it's checks to 64433. Thank you. Mayor Lucas, come to the stage, please. I have some very exciting news. Mayor Lucas is here to sign our Mayors Against Illegal Guns proclamation.
All right. By the way, can I just say, you guys rock. You really do. All right. I'm going to get a fancy mayor pen out. Ballpoint. All right. Here we go. It's my birthday tomorrow, and there's not a better gift than this, though. What we need is safety in our country and in our city, and you all know what we're dealing with every day. Thank you so much for what you do, the hard work you're doing. Let's keep pushing, because we're going to win. We're going to get common sense gun laws. We're going to make our cities and our country safer. Thank you so much. And feel free to put in the rest. It's all
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We can figure
right.
it
Yeah.
out. So I know that many of you are wrapping up your postcards right now. If you would just, there will be people positioned at the doors to grab those postcards and note cards from you. Thank you, Mayor Lucas. I just have a few final closing remarks before we part ways for the day. Thank you again all so much for being here. We are moms demand action, and we hold these truths to be self-evident. We should all be able to live free without the fear of being shot. We should be safe when we go to where we worship, when we go to the movies, when we go to a concert, when we go to Walmart, when we go to school, when we go to sleep in our homes, when we go to First Friday, when we go to a garlic festival, when we are driving down the street. This is not about mental health, it's not about video games, it's not about movies, it's about easy access to guns, full stop. We are fed up with the gun violence that is tearing apart the lives of families in our communities. We know that one law won't stop all gun violence, but we know that stronger common sense gun laws will save lives. If our elected officials do not act on passing common sense gun laws, we will vote them out in 2020. We will mobilize just like we did in the last elections and knock doors, make phone calls, whatever it takes to replace those beholden to NRA money with gun sense candidates. We are the mothers and others that have banded together to say not one more. Say it with me, not one more. Not one more. Enough. Enough. So what next? Share Moms Demand Action in every town for gun safety with your friends and family. Post about this meeting on your social media. Join us. Text checks to 64433, then text commit to 64433. When your kids go to play at a friend's house, ask if there are guns in the home and if they are secured. Table in an event to help us spread the word. We are literally 100% grassroots, and that is how we keep spreading the message. Come to our next meeting. And never, ever forget that every single one of you in this room today holds so much power in your voice and your action. Every single one of you. Together, we will be unstoppable. We're the ones we've been waiting for. Mother Jones said, "We pray for the dead and we fight like hell for the living." Thank you. You can go now.
because I'm like I said, I'm a very part-time person, and so I'd have to go to the proper channels and find out who would be like responsible for reaching out to me. Excellent. Thank you very much.